Welcome to the National Garden Bureau's webinar, and this is about vegetative annuals. And don't worry, we are going to explain what a vegetative annual is. But first, I'll introduce myself. I am Diane Blazik. I'm the Executive Director with National Garden Bureau, and we have four wonderful panelists who have taken time out of their maybe snowy days to be here with us so that we can talk about all these summer annuals. And I will just briefly introduce each one. And then I will turn it back over to each of you, and you guys can introduce yourself. So we have Jonah from Danziger. We have Delilah from Suntory. We have Maria from Ball Floor Plant and Selecta, and we have Stephanie from Doom and Orange. So I'm going to go back to you. Jonah, would you like to introduce yourself and your company?
Sure. My name is Jonah. I work for Danziger. We are a company based out of Israel where we do all of our breeding. We have a very large farm in Guatemala where we produce all of our vegetative cuttings. We also have one in Kenya,
Hold
and
ball.
we send those
125.
all over the world.
Okay.
And we have our little research site in Grand Rapids where there's snow.
Where there's snow right now. So you're not doing a lot of research right now, but it'll come soon enough, right?
That's right.
Okay. And Delilah.
Hi, yes, I'm the marketing director of Suntory Flowers. Suntory is based in Japan and part of the very large Suntory Holdings, which is known mostly for beverages and whiskey in particular. So yeah, some beautiful plants to go in the whiskey barrels. And so Suntory's breedings in Japan and a good portion of it also in Australia.
Very good. Thank you. And Maria.
Hi, I'm Maria Bollinger, and I represent Ball Floor Plant and Selecta. Ball Floor Plant is a part of the Ball Horticultural Company, which is a 120-year-old company that originated producing and selling seed. But Ball Floor Plant is a breeding and distribution company of vegetative cutting, uh, bred in North America and produced in Mexico and Nicaragua. And then I also represent Selecta, which is a German breeding company, and our vegetative cuttings originate in Ethiopia, Uganda, and Kenya. Not Kenya and Uganda, sorry. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. And Stephanie.
Hi, everybody. Stephanie Whitehouse here. I'm the product manager for Doom and Orange. We are a breeding company that's based in Germany and the Netherlands. We've got kind of like two family houses, although our North American offices are based in Columbus. And just as my fellow panelists, we do a lot of different breeding, mainly in vegetative plants, but we also have a cut flower division as well as potted plants like poinsettias and calendula, kalanchos, and things like that. It is our 25th anniversary here in North America. We are turning 25 in 25, so it's been a great celebratory year with all of our new introductions and things like that. So super excited to talk with all of you today about vegetative annuals and what's up and coming in the marketplace for this spring and the summer.
That's great. Happy anniversary. And I think it only serves to share with everybody that by listening to our panelists, hearing where their companies are based or where some of the products are produced, you realize what a international industry horticulture is. In fact, there's a webinar coming up in about a month, and it's cool facts about horticulture, and we will be talking a little bit about that. So if you have not registered for that webinar, please do so. But now what I think we need to do, and I'm just going to toss it out to the panelists. Delilah, I think you might be going first, but can you tell everybody what do we mean when we say a vegetative annual? And what's the history behind propagating vegetatively versus from seed? So Delilah, you want to take that off and then anybody else can jump in too?
So vegetative annual is propagated by you take cuttings and root them versus seed that you plant. So a vegetative annual is like a clone. There aren't two parents making the seeds. And up until I would say 35 or 40 years ago, the most commonly used vegetative annuals were geraniums and New Guinea impatiens. So that was about it. Everything else in the annuals market was from seed. There were some specialty, very niche annuals like Strobilanthes, Persian Shield, and things like that. But it wasn't until the early 90s that this explosion of vegetative annuals came on the market, including Surfinia petunias from Suntory, Million Bells, Calibrachoa, and a lot of even common products like verbena that were from seed became produced from cuttings.
Excellent. So we're thinking a little over 30 some years ago is really when this took off. And from a breeder perspective, can you talk a little bit about the advantages to breeding vegetatively? From my understanding, it's a quicker process. You can get new varieties to the market a lot more quickly. Is that right?
Yes, I agree with that. And I think that the vegetative propagation and the breeding is you have more unique colors and you more unique colors and color patterns. So that's a big standout difference versus a seed propagated and bred genetic.
And I heard several of you talk about, well, I think all of you, the international aspect. I know a lot of the companies are based internationally. A lot of you have production internationally. We've heard the terminology mother stock. Who would like to explain mother stock and how that comes into play with these products? And then how do they get here into North America?
It's a super complicated process there, Diane.
Can you explain it in 2 seconds?
So, yeah, I can kind of give the overarching like approach to mother stock plants. So when you have a vegetative variety, say like a vegetative petunia, you don't generally hold stock on the seeds because they just don't exist. A lot of times you'll hold your genetic, I guess library in either tissue culture or as live plants. And through all of our different farms that we are sending these unrooted cuttings to, we have to provide those kind of like the stock plants or the initial like plant one that then each cutting farm will propagate and will multiply in order to be able to supply hundreds of thousands of cuttings to our growers here in North America throughout the spring season. Um, Depending upon the crop, there are different kind of protocols or frequencies at which you would refresh your mother stock plants so that those stock plants don't get to be too old or over harvested. Um, and that is all, basically determined upon um, how, frequently that variety is sold or how quickly that variety can grow. Say a petunia or say a million bells is much faster to grow or to throw off more cuttings than say like a geranium or say a lantana are. So it's very crop specific in terms of how frequently or how many stock plants you would need at each of your different cutting farms. I don't know if the rest of the group wants to add to any of that, but that's kind of the overarching like basis. And sometimes you want to refresh that stock in the tissue culture in your library. Because plants are like people, as I used to say in my old job working and running a garden center. As people age, plants age too, and so sometimes it's really important to make sure that your cutting farms are getting the most fresh, newest, youngest material to work from so that you too, the end consumer, can end up having the freshest and most hardiest, most robust plants that you can then plant in your garden.
Makes sense. Does anybody else have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I guess that's what our farm in Guatemala is our mother stock farm where we have a bunch of the same variety all in one pot. It's kind of a boring greenhouse to see because it's all green plants that they're taking cuttings off of. But the goal is to take a cutting off the stock and ship it up to the United States as quickly as possible. So workers there will take the cuttings, put it in a box, and then hopefully it's on an airplane same day or next day. And then a greenhouse here sticks it in the ground within 2 more days.
Very good. Okay, so first of all, I didn't say anything about questions, but feel free, everybody, you can ask questions, put them in the chat or put them in the Q&A. Doesn't matter to me, either place. Mickey, I see that you ask a hot topic, which is about tariffs. Why don't we go ahead and address the elephant in the room? So, what is the impact of these current tariffs on our industry and on these imported cuttings?
I'm in the R&D side of our company, so fortunately I have no idea. So I'll pass that question on.
Yes, on the good point is most of the cuttings have shipped already, so it's
Right.
most of the cuttings have already shipped for the season, so we're set. Maybe for poinsettias, those will ship in the summer, so maybe that'll become more of an issue from Mexico.
Right. Yes. I think it just varies by crop and where the origination of the cutting is, and the percent of the tariff, and that is going to depend on, like I said, the origination, and that most likely will be passed on to the grower. But I don't know how that's going to impact it at retail. It's just going to vary. We're, watching it very closely, and I think that's what everyone is doing, and kind of hoping that it won't have a huge impact. It's going to vary a lot.
Yes, yeah. Kind of stay tuned, see what happens. Here's a question.
Yes.
Anybody can answer this. Just jump in. Why can't we have growers here in the States taking cuttings and refresh their mother stock in their own facility? I think that's kind of a long, complicated answer also, but who wants to start with that one?
Well, the old way was that the growers did have their own stock, and then that requires them to heat the greenhouses all the time, and plus that greenhouse space could be used to produce plants instead of holding stock. So as the supply chain evolved with the ability to get the cuttings quickly from climates that are naturally nice for stock plants. Like they say, it's Central America's like year-round spring. It's just the perfect climate. So it's a better match for the plant and the climate, and just cost effectiveness versus a local grower trying to have stock of every variety they're going to grow. You wouldn't have any room to grow any plants.
Right.
It
Yeah.
also helps with maintaining like the same quality across
Right.
all, a single variety. So no matter whether you're buying that from a grower, say in Wisconsin, or a grower in New York, or the grower in Florida is buying that plant, there's no variation in the quality of the starting cutting that they would be receiving. So that really helps with ensuring that that plant, regardless of wherever it is across the country, has pretty much similar like starting points. Obviously all growers, they're allowed to, have different types of greenhouses or have different growing conditions or practices in how they grow. So things might be a little bit different in that way, but that really helps kind of unify the quality. It's like you're building a car, right? You're not going to have the car manufacturer down the road from you isn't going to be, making their own tires or making their own, Ford Explorer on their own. They're getting each of those different cars from one manufacturing place. And that manufacturing place is getting all of those bits and pieces from the same location as well, too. So it kind of unifies that whole, like as Delilah was saying, unifies the supply chain and ensures that quality stays the same throughout the chain.
Right. Quality
I
could
think,
streamlining.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is to go along with that quality is all of all of us here that have all these production farms of cuttings and such. There's strict sanitation protocol, and that would be very difficult. That's hard for a small grower to maintain that, especially on geraniums or something. They get disease very easily, and so that's hard for a smaller grower to maintain that sanitation protocol and the disease and insect problems that can occur. So it's just much more efficient, and that all goes into the quality, as Stephanie was referring to too.
Yeah, that's a
I think
great
we
point
also
too.
to think too about, vegetative cuttings and the breeders that are behind these plants that invent these wonderful varieties that we work with and that we all use. And that allowing or I guess I would say like preventing a home grower or their own, a grower uh, to take their own cuttings and to propagate on their own. Um, it allows for a royalty to be associated with that vegetative cutting, and so that the breeder themselves can get a little bit of a kickback and get paid for their worth and paid for their invention that they've created. So that's another reason why too.
Absolutely right. Yeah. So, Stephanie, you just mentioned all these wonderful varieties. So let's segue over to our presentation now. And I think each of you have, I don't know, somewhere between 6 and 10 varieties to show. So let's go through that. And then I have some other specific questions about gardening and caring for vegetative annuals. So let's get started and let's talk about some of these. So, Maria, you are up first with your
Right.
varieties, and I had this one in my garden last year and loved it.
Yes. So Ageratum Monarch Magic is not your grandmother's Ageratum. This is a totally unique vegetatively propagated Ageratum where most of the ones, if you think of your grandmother's, was a seed variety, which is really great, but it needed a lot of deadheading and that type of thing, and maybe didn't do well in a wide range of conditions. This is unique in that it is vegetatively propagated and it does not require deadheading. It attracts monarch butterflies and bees. It's beautiful. It's wonderful in large containers, and it's absolutely beautiful in the landscape. It's very easy to grow. It can, hi, Callie. Thanks for the shout out there. It is a very easy to put in the ground, very to little no maintenance. I live in Tennessee and I have a huge deer population, and they don't seem to really prefer Monarch Magic. So that's a plus. You never really say anymore that they're deer resistant because they will eat everything eventually at some time, but they don't seem to prefer Monarch Magic. And very little maintenance. And it can take high heat and full sun, and it's performed super well across North America. You should be able to see that in your garden centers this year. And then Angelonia Guardian Angel, Berry Sparkler, is a beautiful plant. Guardian Angel is a series of Angelonia that's tall. It's our tallest in our whole lineup of Angelonia. So in the garden or any container, you can expect them to be about 2 foot tall, 24 inch to 30, 36 inches tall, depending on your region. Of course, in the south with humidity and such, it's going to get, the largest height, but you could use this as a upright component in a large container, or you can use it in the ground as a backdrop. They are very good for high heat, full sun, and this Berry Sparkler has this unique two-tone color. It's very stunning, very, very nice. And then Angelonia also, Wildflower Plant has a huge variety of Angelonia. And this series, Angel Flare, this is Angel Flare Black. This is the Angel Flare series is like kind of, I think of it as jazz hands. It's like a upright mounded flared vase shaped type of Angelonia, which really, really mixes well with other components. So it's great for containers. Like I said, is a combo, but this is the first black Angelonia on the market. So it's very unique. I really like it mixed with pinks and whites and yellows and just a wide range of any heat loving components, full sun. It can also be put, there's a couple other colors in two bicolors in this Angel Flare series. And they could also be used as a border in the landscape too. So very, very pretty, good pollinator plant also.
And can you see your Calibrachoa mini famous there, Maria?
I can.
Okay.
So this was So Selecta, this is selective breeding. The previous varieties before the Angelonias and the Ageratum were ball floor plant varieties. This is for Selecta, our company out of Germany. And the Calibrachoa Mini Famous Uno series is a slightly mounded, slightly more compact than some of the other Calibrachoa that we offer. And the Funtopia, we have two colors, the blue and the pink, and I absolutely love these. These are a double, kind of a semi-double, kind of a fluffy bloom. Outstanding garden performance across North America. Beautiful, tidy hanging basket, or and when I say tidy, it's just kind of a neat outline, not real wild, not real compact, but just medium habit, which I love. And I've watched it perform all season long, and it could be great as a small container on a tabletop or in a patio container or in a hanging basket. It's one of my most favorite introductions. And this combination between the two colors is a Trixie that we have new for 2026 called Funtopia Utopia. And it's my favorite new introduction. And then Selecta also breeds widely in Dahlia. And our Dahlia Venti is our largest growing Dahlia with superior garden performance. And when this was introduced, this is Magenta White Eye, I was like, okay, it's pretty, it's nice. But when I've watched the garden performance of this, and I'm in the South, and so we have a lot of disease pressure, a lot of humidity. I've watched this perform, and it's such an outstanding garden performer. It's tough. The blooms are large, tons of blooms on it. It's very sturdy. It's an outstanding dahlia. This is great for large containers, and in certain regions of the country, you could, plant it in the ground also, and you can cut the blooms too. So it's a beautiful dahlia. Outstanding.
And the dianthus.
All right. It's one of my favorite topics also. This is from Selective Breeding also. The Everlast series is a true hardy perennial zone 5. That's what I qualify like as a true perennial kind of zone 5. They can live in that cold temperatures. And so the Everlast series has a wide range of colors and patterns, but this ruby edge is very beautiful. It's new. It has this two-tone color. It's like that dark ruby color with a lighter pink. It's very showy, and they're very hardy and very versatile, and can withstand a wide range of conditions. So that will be one of your true hardy perennials that can come back year after year. So it's a very unique color pattern, very pretty.
Thanks for clarifying that. It's hard when I'm putting these presentations together. It's like, well, we're talking to all zones. We don't know where everybody is from. So those of you
right.
who are in
and,
up to zone 5, then you're lucky to have a perennial there.
Yeah, and then I'm sure with the zone shift, it would be even hardier, depending on the soil, well-drained soil and such.
And now your AAS winner.
Yes, one of our favorites. So this is also from Selecta. And a couple of years ago, we were able to begin importing unrooted cuttings into the North American market, and that opened up a wide range of genetics for us. And Dianthus capiton is a high vigor, high food count series. They can be used for cut flowers because they have a long stem, but they're beautiful, larger containers. And this Magnifica is a two-tone hot pink, really beautiful, shocking hot pink color, All American Selection winner. And you could think of Dianthus now as not only as a perennial, but it can be used as a potted plant. My favorite use for Dianthus is just a transition kind of between, early spring and summer, because they can take cold conditions, especially in the South. You can be utilizing them on your patios now, or door entryway containers, mixed containers. And then in other regions across North America, these will bloom most of the summer. So you can use these as a component within a combination. So, it checks off all the boxes. The Dianthus is perennial depending on the variety. It's an annual. It's a potted plant. It's a gift item. It's a component for a combination. So I can't say enough about the dianthus and the use of it. So this is one of my favorites there. So we're really happy to, and thank you for the All American Selection winner there.
You bet.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria. Okay, Jonah, I think your turn is up and you have the verbena to start with. If I don't go fast enough through these, you can just tell me to go forward on each one.
Okay, if I'm going too fast through them, you can also tell me to slow down.
Okay.
So this is our this is our Verbena Vanessa bicolor light pink. Uh, One of the things Danziger is known for is our verbena. Quite frankly, I've never seen a seed verbena before, so I think a lot of it is coming from a vegetative production. These are bred to make sure they're blooming all season long for you. Rumor has it in the past verbena would flower once and it would disappear. These will keep the flowers the whole time, and it's a nice looking color. Uh, our portulaca, this is the other thing that Danziger is really known for. Some people might know it as purslane or recognize it from the weed that shows up on your sidewalk or in your garden. Um, This is not a weed. It is what I refer to as the perfect millennial plant. It's what I tell all of my friends to buy if they're trying to get into gardening because this color is great. We have plenty of other colors, and you could neglect this all summer long, and it'll keep growing and keep flowering. So it's a very good first gardening plant. Petunia capella, rim raspberry. It's got a little raspberry color and it's got a white rim. That's where the name comes from. Archipellas, I wouldn't necessarily recommend putting them in the ground. We breed them to perform really well in baskets and in patio pots. So we have another series called Cascadius, which is great in the ground, but these are really, really shine in a pot all summer long. And then our Green Thumb Award winner, Plum Cockatoo. This is another one that does best in a pot. It'll stay pretty compact for you. Uh, I think the name fits it pretty well. Green Thumb Award winner. Sorry, I got distracted. The Amazon, it's called Amazonas because it has the rainforest vibe. When I see this in garden centers, a lot of people combine it with foliage plants like Tradescantia. So it makes a very good patio pot that'll go all summer long with you. It's a classic petunia, so you know it's pretty easy to grow. And with the foliage, it is extremely nice.
And I saw this out at the California trials in a lot of different combinations. I mean, it was pretty much anything you put it with.
Yes,
It was gorgeous.
we put it in a lot of places.
Yes. Thank you.
And then here's another Green Thumb winner, Leah Abstract Lemon Cherry. Part of vegetative production, Calbricoa, is one where I don't know how to put this politically correct. The vegetative Calbricoa, there's a lot more options than the seed options currently. So this part of it is because all of the great colors you can get and how easily or easier it is to breed for them because you just have to find one colorful plant and then take cuttings off of it and then we can sell a million of them. So this is Leah Abstract Lemon Cherry. Leah does best in a pot as well. It'll keep growing. It gets very big in a pot as long as you keep it watered and keep it fertilized. And it's got an awesome flower pattern.
Okay, we've got a question for you, Jonah. Back on the
Okay.
portulaca,
Yep.
is it one of those where the blooms open during the day and close up at night?
It is.
Okay.
And a lot of people have a lot of different theories as to what causes the blooms to open and close. Uh, it really seems to be no rhyme or reason because one person will say if it's going to start raining, they'll close, and then an hour later it'll be raining and we'll just be looking at it open. But that is something we breed for, or at least try to look for in the vegetative production, is they keep their flowers open as long as possible. So,
Very interesting. Thank you.
yep,
Okay, well, thank you, Jonah.
you're
For your
welcome.
first webinar, we'll give you a round of applause.
That's fine. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Okay, Stephanie, let's move over to your varieties.
Okay, dahlia is one of my personal, like, as a gardener, I just love dahlias. I love their flower shape. I love the different forms and sizes that you can get with them. And the Hypnoticas are one that is just fantastic, not only in large planters, for on your patio, but also really excellent in the garden space. They'll get to be about your knee height, come in the summertime. But the intense blooms and the number of blooms that you can get throughout all the colors in the series throughout the whole entire season are really superb. This new color that we introduced here for 2025 this season is called Candy Corn, and it looks just like the Halloween candy. It starts out as a really vibrant, deep orange bloom, and then as the blooms really start to open, you get that really lovely hot yellow, and then the nice little touch of white, like on the tips there. It's really striking and super special. And I've had a lot of fun just kind of playing around in combinations with this variety for sure. So take a look at this one for in the summertime or even in the fall at some of your local garden centers as well too.
That would be great in combinations. I have a quick question for you,
Yes.
Stephanie. Since these are dahlias that are vegetatively propagated, as they grow, will they develop those corms that we know and love about dahlias?
Yeah, they will. Like right down, like kind of at the base or like at the crown of the plant. And I've had in past lives, I've had friends, I've had, customers of mine who have like tried to overwinter their dahlias and things like that. You can. It won't be as robust as like the upcoming year. But if you want a fun experiment, I always say have at it, give it a try. Just same as like the people who want to try to hold on to their poinsettia from one Christmas to the another. You can bloom it again. Just, it's a fun experiment. But, know that there's also more that you can always go to the garden center and get as well too. So,
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. That's like trying to get your poinsettia to continue to
yeah,
bloom. Did you
yeah.
say candy corn will bloom basically all summer? I mean, when you're buying
All
it
summer. Yep.
all
It'll
summer.
start here kind of like in your mid-spring season wherever you are located, and it'll go well into the deep
Mhm.
summer months. I'll say that especially if you live down south, give it a little bit of shade, whether that be say like your late afternoon shade or maybe just don't put it out in full golf course like full blaring sun because we have seen in some cases that candy corn can fade on you, especially if it's like late, that late August, that super high humidity time of year. And as with all dahlias that are all sensitive to powdery mildew, just make sure you give it some space, give it some air room, okay? Give it some, some breeze, okay? Um, so yeah, I love pairing the candy corn dahlia along with this new introduction that we had here for 2025, Petunia plus black satin. Now you see that there's the words Intrinsa and you see the logo Intrinsa Plant Power and you might be wondering, well, what is that? It's a new plant called Intrinsa? No, at Doom and Orange, our research and development and our breeding teams have this project called Intrinsa where we are looking at horticulture's top 50 plant varieties and looking at the DNA in each of those different plants. So whether it be roses or calantros, or in this case, petunias, and we've mapped the entire genome and are looking for genes that we can turn on to help prevent or help solve each of those individual plants' number one problems, whether it be a disease or whether it be a nutritional problem, maybe it's a sensitivity to a pest, that kind of thing. Petunias are highly susceptible to a disease called tobacco mosaic virus, which is a really big issue for growers in our industry. Not always something that you would see at the consumer level, but if you have a grower who has a case of tobacco mosaic virus or TMV, it can mean that you might not have that petunia come to the garden center in the springtime because it can devastate an entire crop. Here at Doom and Orange, a lot of our petunias are now bred with Intrinsa inside, which means we have turned on the gene for that resistance and they can now survive that virus attack. It's kind of like COVID, but for petunias, if you want to think of it that way. So what's great is that here we have a variety that is TMV resistant. It's a great black, super, super dark black. I love that it's similar to that black Angelonia that Maria was talking about early on. And if any of you had watched last year's Goth Gardening webinar that I was part of, this is another one of those great plants that falls within that kind of niche gardening trend. So Petunia Plus Black Satin. It's a great new variety that's on the market.
And so if
I'll move
anybody
on.
on this webinar wants to know about that Goth webinar that Stephanie mentioned, which was great fun, Gail will post a link to that YouTube video and you guys can always watch it later. So that was just a fun themed webinar that we did last year. So
Yeah, and as Maria said, the black colors, you might not think of it as a plant on its own, but when you pair it with, say, an electric purple or with whites or even an orange, it really helps all of those other colors really pop. It's like the perfect black dress to any of the other plants within your garden. It really helps all those other plants shine and look their best. Another plant that we introduced this year is within our family of geraniums. It's called Glory Days. There's two colors in that series, but red-orange bicolor is the most striking. It's beautiful. It's a single flower geranium. We're kind of going back to our classic geranium roots or, kind of the old-fashioned type varieties or heirloom varieties. Where this is a single flower, but we really love that kind of dark red background with the orange kind of splash or like paintbrush effect to the flowers here. It's an interspecific geranium, which means that our breeders have taken a zonal geranium, they've taken an ivy geranium, they've bred them together, and here you get Glory Days, which is kind of the best of both worlds. You get that really nice single flower, but then you also get the really great disease resistance and garden performance that you would expect from your zonal type geraniums. So really great in hanging baskets. It's a nice kind of semi-trailing type geranium, but it also does really well in the garden space as well too. Verbena, so like Jonah, I too have never seen a seed type verbena. I think I'm just too young for that. But our verbenas, as he was saying, yes, they do tend to cycle out in the summer months. You'll go through a season where you have just a salad of green, and nobody really likes that. So us too here at Doom and Orange, we are also breeding for verbena that have an extensively long bloom season. And with Empress Sunkiss, chef's kiss, you have that perfection, right? It's a really nice semi-compact verbena that is superb and perfect for window boxes, for mixing and combinations, for doing in single planters. But you also can plant it into the ground as well too. It has added heat and humidity tolerance. It has an extensively long bloom season. And while it will cycle. You will go through a bloom season. What is great about the whole Empress Sunkiss series is that rounded, mounded habit and the color all around the entire plant, it buries its dead. So you'll have a full season of color where all the new blooms kind of pile on top of one another. So you never go through a season where it's just all green, which is great. Empress Sunkiss White is one of the first colors within the series. There's more coming for 2026. We started out this first year with the white. There's also a red, a blue, and a pink that you'll see on the market, and there's more coming. I'm super excited about those too. Within Confetti Garden is our brand here at Doom and Orange of our mixed combinations. Almost 20 years ago, we created this concept where our growers can take a petunia, a million bills calibrachoa, and a verbena and plant them all into the same, starting point or their own same plug, and then put them into any size container that they choose, whether it be, say, a 6-inch or all the way up to a 14-inch hanging basket. And those combinations all root together, they grow together, they flower together to create a really beautiful pre-packaged combination for you at retail. It was kind of a really interesting concept that we created for the entire industry. And so with this year, we've created a top new mix called Blueberry Parfait. This is a industry fan favorite from growers and retailers alike. And we just really love these kind of blue tones, kind of play nicely off of one another. You almost want to eat it. It looks so yummy with the petunia and the combination of the Cali and the verbena here as well. Great early spring combination. So this one is great for blooming early spring into say June, or once we start getting really, really warm, it will start to peter out. You'll definitely want to fertilize this on a weekly basis if you want to carry it through into the summer months. But it's a really great, I think this mix is perfect for Easter and for Mother's Day. And then last but not least, we have an AAS winner as well too. Geranium Pink Batik from our Big Easy series. Big meaning you have that big oversized geranium umbel that is almost as big as like your fist, right? And then easy meaning that it's easy to grow not only in a pot but also in the garden space. And Pink Batik is just super wonderful and fantastic. It won the AAS award for best geranium in a container. So excellent for growing out on your patios, excellent for in hanging baskets as well too. I love this two-toned mottled mosaic type coloration that you get on all the different blooms. Has a really nice long flower stem, so you can even use it as a cut flower, but has really great flower presentation across the whole plant as well. And it just is it's like the perfect best friend. You can plant it with any other, say a petunia or even with another dahlia, or even a coleus if you wanted to get really exciting in your patio planters, and just plays nicely, so nice with all the other plants. So this is one of my personal favorite plants that we have at Dooman. So.
Yay, thank you. Well, we love it too because it's
Welcome.
an AAS winner. What can we
Yeah.
say?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Delilah, it is now your turn.
Yeah, so this is Sardiva scavola. The common name for scavola is fan flower. As you see, there's each petal is like shaped like a fan, and so this fashion pink color is actually one of the more darker pink scavolas you'll find. And what makes it fashion is the striping you see, like pinstripes on your clothes. So this is Sardiva fashion pink. And so scavolas have been on the market a long time. Many may recall when they were kind of more wild looking and scraggly, like an octopus, almost like stems all over the place. And that does look really cool in a huge planter, but these Sardiva ones are very compact and very tight. So you see a lot of floral coverage, and so they won't overtake a combination. And these especially are nice in the summer. They love the heat, and they're really in their full glory in late July and August. So when everything else is looking kind of tired, these look good, whether it's in the bed or basket. And we like to mix. We have several colors, so we like to mix them together as a basket, or they make a nice filler with other annual plants. And here's a cool weather one, Sonetti Blue Spoon. So we call Sonetti cool colors for the cool season. Pericallus is the genus, and it's a cousin of the old-fashioned Cineraria, but more for the outdoor environment than indoor. And so I say it likes pansy weather. So if you understand what pansy weather is, it's the cool early spring. It can take it down to 35 degrees. So Sonetti likes the cool weather, but so you'll probably see them at retail right now, very nice for Easter. But then as the summer temperatures rise, they will go out of flower. So they will not bloom through the summer, the main thing is to embrace them for what they are in the cool season as the first thing you can set out with confidence and not worry about. And a lot of times you can cut back and get another flush of blooms before summer happens. And now for summer, we've got in the whole Mandevilla Dipladenia category, this is a completely new type of product. It doesn't look like a normal Dipladenia or Mandevilla at all. The foliage is very slender and upright. The flowers are more like a pinwheel. So these are naturally freestanding upright and make a nice thriller or almost like a fountain in the center of a combination planter. We like to surround them with our Sarikoi vincas or the Sardiva scaevolas. And so it's almost like a Gara, but a tropical. And as far as the just tall, all free flowing. So you don't need to stake it to a trellis or a teepee or a hoop. So these will stand upright and create a whole different look for a summer planter.
So Delilah, how tall will these get?
Um, a couple feet, yeah. We've had them at the shows, yeah, well over 2 feet tall. And so it all depends on how long your summer is.
Okay, thank you.
And then also in the classic Mandevilla dipladenia bush type, that's very familiar, but this is a breakthrough color. Usually you see red, white, or pink, and this is a bluish color we've named Bluephoria. So it's new at retail this year. And yeah, many Florida producers shipping them to retailers right now as we speak. And so the buds start out pink, and then when they open, you get these shades of blue and purple that we call Bluephoria. And Surfinia petunias, our original classic series that's been on the market more than 30 years. The Heavenly group is more modern breeding. It's more controlled, less rambunctious. You see more flowers, and you still have outstanding garden performance. This Heavenly Blackberries and Cream, it's really striking contrast. And last summer, it looked great in all the trials, and really looks good paired with like a dark foliage spike, whether it's like a purple fountain grass um, or Dracaena or cordyline. Yeah, it just really makes a nice plot. And yeah, it's all for us.
Oh, I
Oh,
do.
wait, I'm wrong. I still have more. Oops. Okay. So this is you might wonder, what is this? Is this some kind of gardenia or shrub? But it's a vinca, this Catharanthus sari double orchid. So also on the blue spectrum, this bluish purple. So you get a totally different flower form, but this great summer performance would expect with a vinca. So great summer annual, totally new type of product.
There you go. Okay, now you're off the hook, Delilah. So, thanks everybody. I mean, those are amazing to look at, and I think Gail put the link to our new plants. The majority of these are in our new plants program right now, or they will be for next year. I think most of these are available at retail right now. I think that's why we put this program together. So we have about 10 or so minutes, and I haven't gotten to very many of my original questions. But let's just kind of talk about, first of all, do you know that it's vegetatively propagated when you go into the garden center, or what should your knowledge be when you're shopping for plants? Like, is there certain ones that what are the advantages toward having an annual that's seed propagated or vegetatively propagated? It's that was a lot of questions all in one. Sorry. Not sure where you want to start on answering that.
I think one of my initial comments earlier was just having unique color patterns, and that's really strong in vegetatively propagated varieties, as we saw throughout all this. There was unique color patterns in all the introductions there that we looked at, and I think that's the standout for me on the vegetatively propagated varieties that you can see, and usually good vigor, strong root systems, which you wouldn't see that, but good vigor, healthy, is a good sign on the vegetative. I'm sure everybody else can add some input to that too. So.
You're definitely going to get your bang for your buck when it comes to vegetative cutting. Yes, they're going to be a little bit more expensive, but that's really because they're going to be at the garden center in different like forms. So a lot of times you'll find your seed items are going to be in 6-packs, or they'll be, or even as a seed packet itself, that where you could start it on your own. but they're going to be smaller. You're going to be starting them or using them earlier in the growing season, and you're going to be putting the work into helping those plants grow throughout the gardening season. Whereas the vegetative type annuals, they would be available in a 4-inch pot, a quart-sized pot, or larger, and or as a mixed hanging basket or as a mixed planter. And you're really going to get that, as Maria was saying, that higher vigor, that bigger body, the beefierness and sturdiness to it is really going to give you a much stronger and faster growing plant that you kind of are like, oh, I did this all on my own a whole lot faster than you did by the seed variety. I find vegetative things are better for the do it for me type group of consumers, whereas the seed items are better for, no, I want to have that experience. I want to be the grower myself, and kind of baby those or shepherd those plants throughout the growing season. There's both are great. Yeah.
And let's see, I heard a couple of you talk about fertilization. So really, I mean, it's an annual, and so to have a nice robust plant all summer long and have the flowers, probably in general terms, fertilize, or is it going
So
to depend on geraniums versus petunias versus whatever?
I think it really doesn't depend on the seed or vegetative. I think to get the most out of your annual plants, you need to fertilize regularly, follow the directions, whether you use a slow release within the soil, but I'm in a southern region where we water a lot, and I always have a slow release in my soil, my containers. But then I also come back in a little bit, halfway into the season or every once in a while with a liquid fertilizer, at least once a week, every 2 weeks, depending on how much rain and, what part of the season. And that's just going to keep your plants healthy and blooming longer. And, they're growing quickly, and you're watering a lot through the summer. So, they need nutrition.
Just like people, we need
Yeah.
Just
nutrition.
people.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this is a question that I'm kind of pulling a fast one on my panelists because I was going to ask it in the beginning, but now I'm going to ask it as like our closing, but I'm going to tack on something else. So in the beginning, I was going to ask all of you, like, what's the number one question that people ask you when it comes to gardening with or without vegetative annuals? But now what I want to do in our closing 7 minutes or so, is give each of you a chance to maybe say that. You meet somebody at a cocktail party there, they find out you're in the horticulture business. So what's a question they ask you? But then also, I'm sure you guys have amazing yards and gardens. So what's your favorite tip for gardening with some of your own vegetative annuals, be it what you combine them with or how you use them or whatever. So not sure who wants to go first, but most frequently asked question and your favorite tip. And that we'll go through all four of you and that will close out our webinar today.
I'll start. I guess a lot of my friends are asking me why I have to go to Guatemala for work, and I feel like we've answered that question pretty well. So there's that one's knocked out. And the next one is how to make your plants look good. And a lot of people who I know who are just started getting into gardening are not watering nearly enough because they are scared to. So make sure your pot has drainage before you start watering too much. But a lot of the times I've seen people are much more likely to underwater than overwater. So worst comes to worst, try overwatering. You might kill a plant or two, but you know where to get more. So that is my advice. If you successfully do that, your plants will look much happier and much healthier.
This is true. Gardening is like a scientific experiment. So you just
Exactly.
keep trying. Yeah, that's good. Okay, who's next?
I can,
Well, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so the most common question I get is, well, I have all shade, what I do, and a lot of the annuals want at least partial sun, so that's always a trickier question because there's a more limited palette as to what they can grow in the shade. And so out of our assortment, I always recommend the summer wave Terranias. Also, yeah, begonias are good, and plastic impatiens.
Okay.
Then, then as far as other advice, one thing is just through our consumers through our Centauri website. So when they have a good, let's say they were really successful with a product last summer and they want to buy it now, but a lot of times it's not at retail now. And so there's a difference between the spring annuals and the summer annuals. And so when people are looking for the Soirée Kawhi Vinca, it's like, well, you're in the north, you're not gonna see that till the second half of May. Be patient, so that's one thing is to kind of get a sense of even within the annuals category, there's differences as far as peak spring and late spring and summer, and the retailer receives them in that order, not everything at once. So that's one thing I have to keep telling people to be patient. Wait a few more weeks. That's they don't have them yet.
And get to know your local garden retailer. Find out when they're getting things in. Don't be bashful.
Yeah.
They'd love to talk to you about plants. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Delilah. Who's next? We got two of you left.
I could go next. I think the comment just everybody was like, oh, how do I not kill my plant? I get plants and I kill them, and so it's a very vague, broad statement. But I think the most important thing is matching the correct plant to the correct location. You wouldn't, Delilah mentioned, shade gardening. Well, you wouldn't want to put something that loves shade in full hot sun, southern exposure, or you wouldn't want to put a full sun loving plant in deep shade. So, look at the labels, talk to your garden center employees there. They're a wealth of knowledge. Look at the tags of the plant. It'll tell you what sun exposure that the plant needs and try and experiment, and like you're saying, you are, but that's I think the first step. And then proper drainage, always fortify your soil, start with a good foundation and fertilize. So
Excellent. But yeah, fertilize, fertilize.
yep, fertilize.
Okay. And to you, Stephanie.
Sure. I was going to say, yeah, I feel like the fertilizer question is, or like how often should I fertilize, is so important. When I used to work at a garden center, I used to say that if you're either growing in the ground or you're growing in a pot, the soil is like your plant's refrigerator. You, as the gardener, you have to go to the grocery store every week in order to make sure that you have food to eat every day. So you should be going to the grocery store for your plant and fertilizing either the ground or fertilizing your planter once a week so that that plant has enough food and nutrients to eat as well too. That always kind of made it the aha moment of how many people would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Was always kind of interesting. I think the number one question I get asked most often when friends of mine realize I'm in the plant industry is what's your favorite plant, of which I can never answer because there's just too many. I feel like I have a favorite plant for every season. And right now, my favorite plant is a Calibrachoa called Rainbow Dragonberry, which is going to be new next year. So get excited. Um, but if I can give you guys like one last closing piece of advice is that the world of annuals is the fun place to live in. If you are new to gardening or if you feel like you have failed like so many times, annuals are a great way to keep trying and to try something new. It's like the accessories that maybe you put on another pair of earrings, or you choose out a different scarf, or you put on a different hat, and you can kind of mix and match to your heart's content, and create a beautiful garden. And if you don't like it one year, who cares? Rip it out, try something new. And the plant tags that are there, we're, I think, as an industry, are getting much better at putting information that is helpful for every region. So read those, keep them. They're helpful tools, and reach out to any of us. We're all on social media. All of our breeding companies are there. We like to share, and plant people are people too. So It's all about having fun and happy spring.
It is. Yes, that's a great conclusion. I agree. All of the breeders, like you say, are on social media. National Garden Bureau is on social media. We can connect you with these breeders if need be, and we've got a lot of information and links on our website. So, with that, I love it. Go plant some annuals. If you don't like them, plant something different next year, whatever. But fertilize, water, have fun, experiment. Great advice across the board. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Delilah, Maria, Jonah, and Stephanie. It was a great hour, beautiful plants and great tips. So I agree with that. Happy spring and let's go shopping.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks,
Bye bye.
everybody.
Thanks.
Great fun. Bye.